My name is David Riddell. I own Big Frog Custom T-shirts in this area, Western North Carolina, and in Durham, North Carolina. It's been about 7 years helping the community for their business needs and anything I can do as a servant leader business owner.
So David, we really appreciate you taking some time and talking with us today. As you know, one of the reasons why I wanted you to come and share with us is because you've taken a particularly unusual and I think an important step in your strategy to launch your business. And could you talk a little bit about how you did your grand opening and why you took this approach?
So I see many do grand openings and they kind of waste it, but it should be a community event. If you do it right, whether you're involved with a chamber or some other group, right, you're doing a ribbon cutting for really two reasons. The business reason is to celebrate an opening, or later in your term, then it's a relocation, new space, or it's a anniversary. But then there should be a community side, right? You're celebrating that there's another business. You're celebrating that we're all here together. And so take advantage of that. Don't just have it, which becomes a formality and you've wasted it. So we put together a community, just a community party, and somebody said to me, why are you taking the focus off yourself? I said, I'm not. I'm a business owner in this community that needs the community. Right? I need to have clients. I need to have referral sources. So we were fortunate that we were members of 4 different chambers. Not everybody does that, but that is sort of a built-in audience anyway. But then after we started to process that, we didn't have a grand opening ribbon cutting a week after opening or a month after opening. We waited 90 days. And then I'd been talking about the business for a couple months anyway. So now I'm 6 months in of developing a network. And I said, what can we do to have fun, make this an event and attract people? Because the chamber or your group's not going to do it. And just saying you're having a ribbon cutting is not going to do it. But if I could invite these 5-year, this school that teaches violin to little kids, right? And they needed exposure, so they came. And then, hey, how about the cheerleaders from the local school? And then which restaurant wants to showcase a little bit of their food? And then we turned it into a nonprofit event, and we were fortunate enough because we have a space, right? That helps with a parking lot. And so it's, in anything, utilizing your resources. Utilizing your resources as the chambers. I mean, your built-in network of customers over those couple months, friends, referral sources, the chamber. But then what else did I have, right? So I started to ask those favors, and we invited 15 nonprofits to come and be in our parking lot. So then it became about them. Then each post was, hey, come and give back to this nonprofit and you'll get pizza, music, door prizes. And so then it becomes an entire parking lot of 15 nonprofits. Somehow we had a mobile gem mine, the Army was there, the fire truck was there, some yoga studio was flipping people and doing all kinds of different things, and then we had a simulated race car. So again, I was a little bit different. Every industry is going to be different, and space limitations and how many chambers you're in. But what do you have that makes sense? Who's your referral partner? So then if you think about shirts, my client is 5 to 85. So now I'm inviting nonprofits, churches, schools, those all work for me, local businesses, and then having different things. And it turns into a party. 4 ribbons helps, lots of people help. But when you have a partner, then they're promoting it themselves too. Hey, come and see me on this day. Come and support us on this day. We had 350 people, 4 ribbons, a massive party. And that's not normal, but it didn't cost any money. It was, again, leveraging what I wanted to do and the resources that I had.
So you kind of say this in your introduction, your explanation of it all, but why is this such a priority for you? Where is that coming from?
From the beginning, because I was in corporate America and being new to entrepreneurship, I knew one thing. There's no corporate support behind me. There's no brand name behind me. And so you have to be more than the name on the door. Right? I'm going to do shirts. I'm going to do printed apparel. How much competition did I already have? Right? Somebody can order online. There are Etsy ladies. There are screen printers all over the place. So what separates me? right? So I knew that I had to go to chambers and I knew that I had to be visible. But giving back and being a servant leader, it's always about being more than the name on the door. So now from day one, and I get it from my day one of ribbon cutting, forget the first 3 months, but what was Dave? Oh, a place that has fun, a place that gives back, a place that knows how to promote others. And oh, I think he does shirts too, right? So I'm branding my business by being community. Because remember what I just said, that somebody said to me, why are you taking focus off yourself? I said, I'm not. We are community. And I'm separating myself from this is the place to get shirts. This will be the place to get shirts because he's now setting himself up as a business to be more than the name on the door as community and give back. And that was, I knew that the bigger it could be, yes, I'm building a referral source and built-in clients, but we're building them not just by, none of those R's, right? We're not cheaper, we're not faster, we're not anything. We are who we are, and that was something unique.
So it's really about being a good corporate citizen.
It is.
You're a stakeholder among stakeholders.
Right. If you're going to survive, and you always hear in Vegas, they say the term whales, right? And the reason they take care of their big spenders is because they come back. I don't want to be a one and done. It was not about go knock on the doors of the big companies, see how many big orders I can get. Because you lose one or two of those, you're lost. It's about over time building a slow audience and a slow customer base. But the more you give back and the more, servant leadership, and the more that you are something other than the name on the door, then yes, because think about it, we're all going to mess up. I'm not going to be perfect. And we're not going to be the cheapest shirt. We're not going to be able to get it the quickest. And a lot of times we're the same as everybody else. Why are they coming to us? Because we're trusted. And he knew how to take care of the community, which means he's going to give back when asked. He's going to take care of us and not just say, well, it's messed up, oh well, right? There's a fall on the sword with servant leadership. And that starts from the beginning, because the customer experience also isn't when they say, I need a quote. And it doesn't end when you give them the product. The customer experience starts way before that. So if I have people that never even were at that event that have heard about Big Frog, there's a positive customer experience to that, right? You're building a brand before they even walk in or inquire about the store.
So let me ask you, this is kind of tricky because we teach a lot that you need to have SMART goals. You need to have objectives for the things you're doing and quantify them. That has to be hard to do with an event like this. How did you approach goals or objectives?
It is, because in a SMART goal, right, the specific to me, they all kind of fall under visibility and branding. But the specifics were, I knew that if I could have others help me promote, I was going to get people there, right? I wasn't trying to do this on my own. And so I knew my audience. Measurable, think about how many people know how many people. So if I could get 15 different, and it's whatever number you have, but in my case it was have 15 different vendors, whether they be nonprofit or the simulated race car or the mobile jet mine, what's their audience look like? So for every 15 of them, they're bringing probably that many people with them. From an actionable hour, I ended up documenting it later and complete steps as to how this actually worked. But I knew by this day I had to have this, by this day I had to have this. What was I going to hit, right? There were things that I set for myself to say, how was I going to how to get there.
Yeah. So tell me, why, given the success of this, and there's other examples that are successful like this, why do you think people don't generally take this approach for a grand opening?
I think there's a couple reasons. Some, they're either so concentrated in the nuts and bolts of the business and don't think, and they're doing traditional marketing. Maybe they're even networking, but nobody looks at that as a vehicle to success. So they somehow don't have time, right? They end up working in it, especially in the early weeks to months, right? I'm working in it, not on it. You're not thinking ahead. You don't know how. A lot of it's knowledge that you just can't put the pieces together, or the chamber told you, or whichever group from the beginning, schedule a ribbon cutting, and you do, and you think that somebody hitting the button will take care of it. And that's like saying, well, I'll walk into class and Ben will teach me and I'm done. And everything's continued learning. Everything's what you do with it more. So you can't let somebody say, okay, we're doing a ribbon cutting and it's good. It's like we spoke about it, that what's the big picture, right? How do you make an event out of it that will last longer than, there was a ribbon cutting today. 5 ambassadors showed up. It was good. But I think a lot of it is knowledge. We just don't talk about how powerful that is. No, by the way, it's free. Now, free outside of if you're a chamber member, you've paid that dues, but what's the additional charge for, in a social media world, you don't have to go old school and do all these newspaper and TV ads. You don't have to involve the media. So in a social media world, you can get organic people. And by leveraging all those partners, it's like, you are a perfect referral source. Do you want to set up? Do you want to help me, help you, help us all?
And I understand, and you've told me this before, it was so successful that others in the franchise network have wanted to stimulate or copy somewhat what you did. You actually wrote up a little bit of this.
They ended up when they updated the marketing manual for our franchise, the 15 pages on our how to throw a party. And okay, now it's written, and you know this from education, that many of the owners have read it and even called me, and then it didn't really go successful because, it's how they looked at those steps. Like, okay, it says to invite a person, like invite the local school, or it says, and they stopped at check mark, check mark, check mark, rather than no. How do I really think about it? How do I tailor it to my business? Because we all only have so much time, money, and energy, and we're not all super creative. But again, if you talk to other people and if you see how it works for you. But there are still people in this area that have never been a client, but when I see them, they'll say 7 years later, you threw that great grand opening. Well, if they can see me and see that, it means they've told somebody, even if my business wasn't needed by them.
And with all that, in reflecting and in seeing other people do grand openings, what, if anything, would you do differently now in reflecting on it?
I would have liked more photos to be and things to share, because you would say in a social media world that it should all be out there, and it wasn't. I didn't enjoy it as much at the time because, that almost became another, as much fun as it was still a business thing. Anybody who's had a big wedding ceremony at the end goes, did I even eat? Because I was so busy talking to people. So you forgot to actually take it in yourself. And then I used my network at the time. If I look back, there's a couple of different vendors or causes I probably should have included, but hindsight, foresight, and insight are great. You just don't have them. But if 350, our store had been open for 3 months, we're 1,400 square feet, and we had 4 ribbons cut and 350 people on a couple $100 maybe. I can't really argue. You can always over-evaluate it, right? That's the business entrepreneur in you, is that everything is evaluated from day one for the history of your business. It's like you're constantly analyzing things, but I can just say it was successful and it jump-started the business differently than anything else could have done.
And I had my list of questions for you, and thank you for answering. But is there anything you would add to close, or anything I might have asked you that you would want to contribute to what we talked about?
I think I've said it in 2 ways. One, always utilize your resources, and you do have those. It just doesn't have to be those that work for you. There's a reason you are in a different community, again, whether it's a chamber, a BNI, all those things that have to be explained when you're new in entrepreneurship. It's like any meetup group, anything. But the other one, and we've strived from it from the beginning, look at it as a bigger picture. We're all in business, but if it's all about selling, you're not going to get as far, right? The more you give, the more you will get. And don't lose sight of that.
I have a question if we can.
Yeah.
I'm curious, and when you please respond to him, not me. But I'm curious. You do all this terrific relationship starting at this, and you've got all these diverse individuals there. How intentional are you about continuing those relationships, and how do you continue those relationships?
Well, I mean, from the immediate thing, whether it was a client or somebody that showed up for your party, thank you notes still matter in today's world. They always have a handwritten thank you note. Will go further than anything, even though most will say, can't I just send them a text that's abbreviated? And so thanking them, and then each time I see them, but even beyond that, 7 years later, it's continuing to support businesses. It's like if I expected everybody to come to mine and didn't go to other ribbon cuttings, or you never saw me again because all of a sudden I was too big for them. And I'm not talking financially big, because as a business owner, right, we hit COVID and there was nothing happening in the apparel world. So I understand how to be going on the upslope and get slip back down. So it's not about too big financially, it's about don't forget who got me there. And who got me there was the community. Maybe not each of those specific vendors. They may have just come because it was publicity to them, and they may have never become a client to me or referral source, but that group, that day, it was all community. And so if you continue to not lose sight of the fact that that's what's getting you there, right? And so you're giving back in different ways. But I mean, when you can write a thank you note, or you can refer somebody, or you can show up at their event, reciprocate, because some of those people were behind me. They had ribbon cuttings later. Some of them have now changed locations or had anniversaries or something like that. And I mean, that's how you keep community moving forward.
So it's networking, and the essence of networking is keeping that community connected.
If you're a servant leader, then yes, you are trying to grow your business by growing communities, not hope that the whole community grows your business, right? The bigger picture.
Yeah. Great. Perfect.